Hello, it's us, it's you, we're here, together. Why are we here? For another exciting week on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, Argentina's number 5 television show podcast.
And I don't think we've kept that. I think we've been drastically falling since, but we're going to wear that badge proudly for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the show. You can officially support You Can't Disappoint a Podcast now on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the place to go to help us move this show forward, and there's all kinds of exclusive content, fun interaction, events with Steven and myself, and all types of ways to influence our show on a weekly basis. So please consider supporting us on Patreon.
If you want to get in on the action, make sure you email us your trivia, your MVP, and your funniest moments from that week's episode over to our email at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read it right here on the show.
We sure will, even if you beg us not to. Also, hang out with us on the socials every week off the podcast. You know, we're on Facebook and YouTube under our podcast title. You can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter, where we probably do the most of our jovial lollygaggery at You Can't Disappoint. So come hang out with us over there.
Yeah, make sure you you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give us that attention that we so desperately crave.
Yeah, throw us your hearts, your wallets, and a couple kisses here and there, and we'll keep on pushing out this baby of ours that we call You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
I do nothing halfway. This will cost you. You'll learn just how much the human body can withstand, and the mind. You give me your soul, Vince Faraday, and I'll help you get your family back.
All right, everybody, it's a really special day. Welcome to a super special, extra little scoop of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast flakes this week. It's a really special time. We're celebrating this podcast. I don't know, what would you call it, an anniversary or a birthday?
I'd call it a birthday, because normally two people agree to be together in an anniversary situation. We were kind of born into this by our papa.
We were born into the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay,
when
well, happy...
communities squeezed us out.
Happy
1 year
You
ago.
Can't Disappoint a Pod Day.
Happy you can't birth a day point.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one. It's a really special day. Today that this podcast is out is the 1 year anniversary of the release of our very first podcast episode talking about the pilot of Community. So we're here to do a little special little hangout to celebrate a year of doing this show. Hi everyone, I'm Zach, and I'm a birthday boy in my birthday suit, ready to please.
Hi, I'm Steven, and if a sugar cone were a person, it'd be Zach. Come here and let me take a little nibble of the top ring of ya.
Where did that come from? What was that?
You're my little sugar cone. I've decided.
You're my butterfly. Sugar. Baby. Where did that come from? What is that in reference to something? Or
well,
is that
you
just
said
what
when you said like an extra scoop earlier, I was thinking ice cream, and you were talking cereal, and so I was going to be like, yeah, I'm a little sugar cone. But
so you just went with it anyway.
Yeah.
But it didn't make any sense. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is going to be fun. Just a low-key hangout. We're going to talk about some community. We're going to talk about what we've done on this show so far, maybe a little bit about what we're going to do in the future. And then we've got a little something special to review later in the hour. But first of all, let's give a warm thanks to the people who help bring us this show every week. Who are those people?
Yeah, we have some patrons who help us out every time. So I want to give a big thanks to Justin Brummett, to Brian Thurman, to Danny M. Lugo, and to, not least at all, but the last to be mentioned, my mom, Mary Baker Budisa. Thank you.
Lovely people all who they're very generous to help us keep this show moving. There are $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where for as little as $5 a month, you can support our show and get all kinds of extra content that you can't get anywhere else, like our weekly pre-show podcast, You Can't Dis a Pre-Show, that's always super loose and off the cuff, and I would say often really fun.
Yeah, I think that loose and off the cuff is our MO, except, change that off to wearing. And wink, wink, because you got the fuzzy cuffs on, Zach. Always.
Also, over at the Patreon, you can get some side stuff we do, like Nerdstalgia, which is its own podcast about nostalgic things from the past and present and future, I suppose, and whatever else we decide on doing every week, right? It's lot of
true.
fun.
If we're going to mud wrestle, that's where it'll be.
If we're going to mud wrestle, that's the place. That's the place. And for $10 and up, you start getting some more personal stuff, like things you can get from us, like community postcards, which are really cool. You can get mentioned on the show, just like those lovely people we mentioned. All kinds of stuff. It's all going on over there, and it'll help us do more fun stuff in the future.
Yeah.
We also got to give a shout out on our birthday to the man who, without, we wouldn't, I don't know that we'd have a year of this podcast to celebrate. Genuinely, I don't know that we would.
Yeah, I think that a big reason why we, found some people who actually listened early on was because of the encouragement, the support, and the retweeting of our lovely, 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 handsome Daddy-O.
I quite clearly remember when we first started the podcast, when I first started making like the Twitter for it and things like that, and Communities was a Twitter presence that, as a community fan, I already kind of knew. I think I had followed them on Twitter before, even like back when the show was still airing. And them following the podcast and then DMing us that they were going to retweet our episode when it dropped, the first episode, without knowing us or knowing anything about the show, and seeing that they had an audience that's grown since then, but at the time was about like 10,000 people. That, to us, being worried that nobody's going to see it outside of the people that we know, and that there's so few of those people that are community fans, that I don't know, the expectations were so low, and I think he really, really helped make this happen. That's at Communities on Twitter. We joke a lot, but I do want to give a real serious thank you. Because
I remember when you texted me and said, hey, this community fan page that has like a big kind of presence that I followed for a while, like followed us and said they'll retweet our first episode. And I was like, that's really awesome. And I was like, that was kind of one of the first times that I thought, like, oh, maybe people will actually listen to this, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's become a thing that, we shout him out every week just because it's fun to make community daddy jokes. But I remember it started, I said, yeah, we'll absolutely shout you out every episode for doing that for us. And yeah, we couldn't have done it without them. And follow at Communities on Twitter if you haven't. We've been raving about them for a year at this point. So go check them out if you're not already. And thanks to our proud community, Papa, we're thankful for you.
Yeah, that's it. It's still like sinking in that we've been doing this for a year, but I was just thinking to myself, like, how different both of our lives were like a year ago.
You think so? Okay. Well, that's what this special podcast is. We're gonna reflect on it. What makes you say that?
Well, I mean, we both live in different places.
That's true.
The world around us is slowly
opening back up.
Yeah.
In the right way, it appears.
And I think at this point last year, when we started this, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, it was only the second week of the show, I think, or the second or third week were the George Floyd protests.
Yeah.
And when we started the show, it was still I don't know, it felt a year ago. We were still in the midst of the pandemic, but it had already felt like we had been stuck in it for a while at that point too. And it's just now lifting. And having the show to do throughout that time, sometimes it felt like, is it the right time to be joking around about the stuff we're joking around about?
That question, we talked about it several times. Like, should we still be doing this, with all this going on?
And I think consciously and subconsciously, I think I needed to be doing something like this. And I think especially in the darker, with all the rioting and the darker pandemic days, I think I really did need something like this. And I've for so long been a creative person. My absolute dream would be to produce a film or television series at some point. And doing the show has finally, obviously it doesn't completely scratch the itch of producing something like that, but it so kind of does at the same. Yeah, it does. It gives me something it gives me something to work on scheduled every week, and something creative to use my voice to do something. And that's been really important to me over the year that we've done this. And I can't stress enough how, I don't know, you and I have been really close friends for a long time now.
Yeah.
But and naturally, you know, once you moved to Chicago and once I got in a relationship and we kind of focused on different things, we would still text each other, but we weren't talking every week.
No.
And there was a time, like shortly before you moved, where we were talking to each other all the time, seeing each other all the time.
Yeah.
And now we do. And I can't, I don't know. As an adult, my friendship circle dwindles kind of, you know, and the relationships that stick mean a lot to me, and I'm so glad that this has helped make you, you know, you're my best friend, buddy. It's fun
buddy,
to do this
it
with
makes
you.
me, I was just thinking, like, probably, I mean, as much as I love doing the show and talking about comedian and joke, my favorite part of this has been getting to, you know, get back close with you again, man, because, you know, when I moved and I had lived here for almost 2 years before we started the show. And, you know, we'd seen each other a couple of times, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been really nice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Love you,
glad.
man.
I'm glad that the
See you in chemistry.
I'm glad that the relationship and chemistry between us has been able to grow instead of becoming one of those things that we haven't seen each other in a year, so when we get together, it's a little awkward because we haven't. And I'm really glad that this is, if anything, been a way to talk to each other. And the fact that we're having this conversation right now, like recorded on the air for people to listen to, is still so weird to me. But what a cool thing, right? So let's talk a little bit about the last year. Let's start at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. I guess not the very beginning. We've talked a lot about how we were friends in high school. We kind of floated around the idea of doing a podcast in high school, which would have been atrocious, I'm sure.
Well, and you've mentioned before something that I had honestly blocked out of my psyche was that we tried once.
I don't think we actually recorded anything.
Well, did we record it? Because we sat around in your room and talked like we were doing a podcast. We did a trial run.
I think I remember us. And too old to be doing this in such a little kid way.
We were not 9 years old. We were
seniors in high school, if not a little bit older. And us sitting in my bedroom at my parents' house, like backs up to the foot of the bed with my iPhone on the floor, just with literally the only thought had gone into it was, we're going to record a podcast now.
Yep.
That was it.
That
we
was
didn't
our
know
only plan.
What it was going to be, what we were going to talk about. So naturally, I don't think we had anything to say. I don't know if we recorded anything. I think we got up to my room, pulled up the iPhone, and we're like, well, what are we going to say or what are we going to do? And then we didn't. I don't know. I would love to, if we did, to
if there were any way to find that audio, I would pay so much for it.
And to share it with the people. Yeah. But I want to talk literally about this show. What was the very beginning of it? Did I just, out of us not talking as often as we should, text you one day and be like, would you do a podcast about Community? Is that what it was?
I think we were talking about something. Because I think we had been texting a little more when the pandemic probably first started.
Well, we went to Six Flags together. Probably
the year before,
less than 6 months before we started the show.
Yeah, it was that summer. And like towards the end of the summer. And so we were, you know, maybe even just like, I don't know, talking about whatever. But I do remember like you were like, hey, what if we like actually did this now? I'm thinking about getting like a computer and stuff. And I was like, and I was thinking about getting a computer soon too. I think I may have even like
I think you might have had it already, or it was around that time.
Yeah, I think I ordered it, but I hadn't, because I remember recording on my laptop the first couple times.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember that too. I used my first stimulus check to buy this desktop computer, my 2 monitors. It's worked really, really well for me, but I bought it kind of like an eBay build-your-own type situation and got it for really cheap and got a really cheap desk and chair and got some sound paneling. And Lily mentioned recently that, I don't know, in the years since we started this went from a corner in my bedroom that I have like this room that's kind of my office to come in and do this.
Yeah, you literally have
edit
a whole like recording studio now.
Not to say that I don't see it being much more than what it is right now.
Yeah.
Just like I still see with this podcast. I still have the kind of scrappy beginning of it. I don't know where this can go. That I still feel like even though we're literally almost to the halfway point of the show to the end of Community, I still feel like, man, we can take this so many places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so starting, I don't know, you probably haven't, but I've had little reasons here and there to revisit the beginning of the podcast.
Oh, I avoid it.
And I feel like we felt really good about it at the time, and I don't feel bad to the point to where I'd ever take it down or anything like that, but I feel like we were so, like, stilted.
Yeah, because we were like, we don't know, how do we talk? Like, let's try and be high energy, but also not, like, I don't know.
I don't think we knew yet if this show was going to be just us discussing Community, not flatly, but seriously, which we do. Or if we were going to let we would joke around the weird way that we joke around, and then we'd start recording and talk about Community, right?
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, and I also think we were a little bit, like, scared of some of the stuff that we like to say and joke around about, and who potentially might listen to the podcast and hear stuff like that. But
and that quickly dissolved, didn't it? That
I wouldn't even say quickly. I think it took a little while.
Yeah.
I think it was when we started, like, getting people interacting with us, like, outside of our immediate circle, and when people started reacting well to us joking around, I feel like. And also I think it was very important that we set a precedent at the beginning to show that we are politically forward-thinking, open-minded, but our humor is very indicative of people that love shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, to where it can be pretty, I don't know, edgy, or I don't know.
Well, and I think a big turning point for us was also when we did which was pretty early on in our podcast too, but when we did the Black Lives Matter live stream.
And we got to meet some of the other podcasters.
Yeah, and I think that people that were watching that kind of saw us interact and thought we were kind of, we're the best looking podcasters, that's for sure.
Ed of the Save Greendale Committee put that together, and they will be joining us soon for our Season 2 roundtable.
Which is fantastic.
And they were crazy enough to not just let us be part of some of the panel discussions. We went through the whole first season of Community that day and did like commentaries for it. A couple of them are a bonus episode from really, really early on in this show's life. And Ed also was gracious enough to let us have the stream for like an hour.
Like, I don't know that we had more than a handful of episodes out.
So not just were we able to kind of see how fun it is when we get to work with other people, we got to kind of do our thing for a bigger audience, because all of these podcasts were retweeting the stream. And I do think that was a big turning point, and it made us some friends that have
stuck
been
around.
Yeah, been really helpful
friends and
for the
some
show.
rivals.
Yeah. Okay, before we move on for a little bit, to talk about a little bit more of the history, I totally neglected to mention that this podcast came out as the same day as our first half of the paintball finale. So if your feed was weird and you got onto this but you didn't get onto that, go check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. And we announced that we're doing a second giveaway as we wrap up the second season of Community.
Giveaway.
Doing the giveaway was kind of not early, but it was a highlight when we did the giveaway over the first season.
It was cool because that's like, this is like a thing that.
Yeah, it got us some Twitter exposure, which we're kind of hoping it will too this time. And
wink.
Where it helped with that, and it was fun to give people away. That was how
it was fun to give people away.
Yeah, it was fun to give people away as a prize. And that was Brian won our first one.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Brian joined Twitter to enter our giveaway.
Which is awesome.
And then stayed on Twitter because of the Community fan base on Twitter, found the other podcasts, found another listener named Mira through Twitter because they signed up to do our giveaway. And then they started a podcast that was unfortunately short-lived, but it was really cool. They started a podcast about the Community podcasts. And that's weird to think about, how not only do people listen to our show, and not to make our heads too big, but it spawned another show, kind of.
Well,
so cool.
That was the weirdest thing ever when we were interviewed.
Yeah, which they never released, by the way. Maybe they listened back to it and were like, oh. Maybe
somewhere there's a lost interview.
We killed that podcast by doing that interview with them.
We brought you into this world and we'll take you out.
Steven's pro-capitalism rants throughout it were a little much for our first interview.
Listen, I just wanted to talk about the American dream. You know, after it's not that hard to go get a loan and start. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, we're still doing a giveaway this season to wrap up season 2, and it's like a double-sized giveaway from the first season. That's
right, not one load, but 2, one from each of us.
You're gonna get the complete series of Community on DVD, which is great because you can get all the commentaries, all the special features that you don't get on streaming. So you'll get the complete series of Community on DVD. Ben Chang pop vinyl in his season 1 paintball garb to kind of celebrate the season 2 paintball special a little bit. You're gonna get 2 t-shirts, one D&D t-shirt that's really cool, and one a paintball t-shirt that's really cool, sized in your favorite size, just sized how you like it. You're also gonna get a set of remedial chaos theory themed dice that have been created by Alex over at 6 Seasons in a Podcast that he's donating to us for the giveaway. That's really cool. You can't even buy those anymore, so you'll that'll be real special. And you're also gonna get some other little fun trinkets and treats, like maybe a community postcard thrown in there, or maybe some stickers or something. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and there are 4 ways that you can enter the giveaway if you haven't done it yet. The easiest way is to retweet our pinned tweet on Twitter over at YouCan'tDissAPod, where we announced the giveaway. If you retweet that, that's an entry. That is one entry into the giveaway. You can also, in our first half of the paintball finale, in this bonus episode podcast, and in next week's season 2 finale podcast, we're going to give a little secret word action.
I love a good secret word.
The Twitter thing's open to everyone, but the secret word is a way to celebrate the people who listen to the podcast to the end, and only the people who are really listening will hear those secret words. And each secret word gets you 2 entries into the giveaway, so that's up to 6 if you listen to the podcast on a regular basis. And the third and best to get the most entries without having to spend money yet, the third way is by leaving our podcast a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere where you can review podcasts. We don't even care if you give us a 0-star review. Just review us.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that having more reviews will really help people that are looking for a community podcast find our podcast. Not just that we don't want other people's podcasts to succeed. We love all the other podcasts, but we want our podcast to be one of those front runners too, right?
Absolutely.
So if you give us a review.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you're not first, you're last, and I live by that, so.
Okay. Yeah.
And Mom only likes winners.
If you haven't left us a review before, if you write us a review and send us a screenshot of it anywhere on social media, and by the way, that secret word, the way that you use it is by messaging us the secret word on any social media or at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. That's your way to send in the secret word and get those 2 entries. If you leave us a review and send in a screenshot of it anywhere, whether it's on a social media or at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, that gets you 4 entries into the giveaway just for reviewing our little show, and it's all kinds of cool stuff. So you definitely want to get in, don't you?
Yeah. So right now, with the 6 that you can get from being a regular listener, and the 4 from that, you could have up to 10 entries.
And
without
11
paying
if you do the
$1.
retweet. 11.
11, yeah. So that's without spending a singular dollar.
Now, if you want to spend more than a singular dollar, the other way to get free entries into the giveaway, like free in quotation marks, is by being one of our patrons. One of the perks of being a patron over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast is that you always get automatic entries into our giveaways without even having to do anything. So you could not even know that our giveaway is going on if you've missed a couple episodes of the podcast or something, and you could win it, right?
Just by, how would you like to make money sitting at home doing nothing?
Right.
Well, and as you have discussed all the stuff that's going to be in this prize package, the value of it is much higher than any of our Patreon tiers.
Yeah, I would say we're looking at about $120 value
Wowzers.
which is really cool. And by being a patron, for each tier, you get more entries along with all kinds of other fun stuff that we discussed earlier. So starting at $5, if you are a part of our $5 tier, you get an entry into the giveaway. If you're a $10 patron, you get 2. If you're a $25 patron, I believe you get either 4 or 5. It'll say for sure over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. And if you're the big boy $50 patron, you get 10 entries into the giveaway. And at the end of the eligibility period, which I'll look up the end date here in a second, we're going to put all of those entries into a document. We're going to shuffle it around nice and good. And during our season 2 roundtable special that's coming up in about 2 weeks, you will get to hear who wins. We'll pick a winner with our special guests.
Yeah, that's if I'm counting correctly, if you
became a $50 patron.
Yeah, and became a $50 patron, that's 21 entries into this giveaway, which I think your chances would be pretty damn good. It stacks
the deck. Now, anyone has a chance. Someone that just has one entry could end up pulling it out, and that'd be kind of cool too. But there are so many ways if you really want this stuff to get in on it. And that's even if you did become a $50 patron, just for 1 month, you could cancel after. You're still potentially going to win this prize pack that's more in value than that $50 by quite a bit. That Chang pop vinyl is brand new, and I'm not sure that they sell them anymore.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get.
Okay, so the giveaway, you can enter up until Monday, June 7th at midnight, so the morning of. So Sunday the 6th is like your last chance. Monday, June 7th. And then the winner will be revealed on June 9th on a special Wednesday edition of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, where we discuss season 2 as a whole. That's enough giveaway stuff. Get in on that. We want you to win some stuff, don't we?
Yeah, come get some shit.
Now let's talk a little bit more about us. We're going to do a couple things talking about the history of this show over the last year. It sure has been fun to watch this baby grow into a 1-year-old boy. And I think what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little edition of everyone's favorite segment on the show. It never goes great, but it sure is always a lot of fun. Not only are we going to find out later in the show if Steven watched the episode this week, a little bit more on that later, we're about to learn if Steven has been paying attention. We're going to find out if Steven paid attention for the last year to the podcast that he's a part of. Let's hear you say that one.
Did Steven pay attention for the last year to the podcast that he's a part of?
That's a really catchy title.
I like it. We should put that on t-shirts. Or no, slap bracelets.
Did Steven create the t-shirt
about
him paying attention to the podcast that he's been a part of for the last year? .com.
At Blogspot.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, the challenge is, as always, you've got 20 seconds on the clock, but there's no episode of Community to recap and review this week. So we're going to find out how much of our podcast, how much of the last 365 days of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, you can sum up, you can find some hidden deep truth about in 20 seconds. How do you feel about this? This is a very abstract challenge.
You know, a lot's happened over the last year. I feel like it almost deserves to be done in song, but I'm not going to.
Damn, you're going to get everyone all excited or maybe terrified for that, and you're not even going to live up to it.
We'll see. I might do it in song.
We'll see. I've got the timer set.
Give me a starting note before,
Are you ready?
Before I start, please. Can you give me
F sharp.
Oh, I thought you were going to sing it and I'd match it.
F sharp. Let's hear it. Okay.
I'm
going to start it. We got 20 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
So we started the podcast, and I was on a laptop, and Zach had just got on his computer, and then we moved into new houses into the podcast. We got better microphones, better soundproofing, and then we interviewed Joel McHale. It was really cool. We were on the live stream. We had a beef with Dom and Andre, and then we interviewed Darcy, and now we're doing great. And everyone's our fans, and our dad is communities, and it's been really a great time, and I love you, Zach. You're beautiful. Time.
Stop. You did. I don't know. Who cares what grade I give it? This is just something fun to do to blow a little smoke up our ass. No, I don't think you missed a single thing.
I don't think I missed anything. Oh, you know what I did miss?
What?
I missed the start of the Patreon.
The live stream. D plus.
D plus? Is that a grade for the podcast or for my review
D plus.
of it?
It's a grade for the Steven portion of all of it.
That's fair. I'll take it.
What we're going to move on to next is, I was a little bit. I always throw it out on Twitter, and maybe people don't see it that listen to the show. But I threw out a line for people to email us in for this special edition of the show and ask us any questions, give us any ideas, give us some love, some hate to see what the people had to say. And I'm gonna take over email duty for this special.
We actually
podcast.
got one.
We're playing hot and loose. We've got 2 emails.
Two emails.
Now they're both from people that we know in our personal life, and one of them. Really, I'm only reading because we just got 2 emails, okay? So do you want me to open up with the good one or the bad one?
Start good, then really ream me.
Okay. So we've got an email from Peep Reviews. For those of you who don't know, Peep Reviews is the cutting edge of marshmallow candy-based reviews, and it's also me and Steven's mutual significant other, the wonderful and deeply weird Lil Shaker.
Shout out, Lil.
Lil writes in to say, congrats, dudes, on 1 year of the pod. Proud of y'all. Thanks. It's been awesome seeing this start and what it's gone through with Zach's desk that I helped build in our tiny apartment to us having a place, and now he has his own office space to record, and the little baby face emoji. And Steven's anime wall filling out and some flex emojis.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Just a couple cues for yous twos. This is 2 questions in one. What has been your favorite moment in the podcast / have done because of the podcast, and what was your least favorite?
Oh, okay.
Anything come directly to mind?
Well, favorite, I think that I have 2. I have an overall one, then I have a really personal one that I'll share.
Okay.
My favorite overall, I think getting to interview Joel McHale was pretty.
Yeah, and how much
cool.
fun that was,
Yeah,
and
that
all the
was so much
nerves,
fun.
and how it came together, and how Hollywood elite it made me feel. Yeah, totally.
And
That's
then,
the easy answer.
Yeah, and then my personal favorite moment was when I got to see you in person and we wrote that card together.
And taking those photos.
Yeah, that was pretty great too. I love the photographs.
That was a really great moment.
Look at this photograph.
That was a good one. I think
Thanks,
it sounded like it hurt you. Yeah, it should.
did.
I think if I had to say a favorite that's not an easy one, something that comes to mind is the 24-hour live stream that we did to, or not 24 hours.
I was going to say, I was like, damn, do we do 24 hours? No, 12 though, right?
I think we just did 8. I think we did 8 hours, but we did an 8-hour live stream to launch the Patreon that we do, patreon.com/can'tdoesn'twhitepodcast. And that was such a fun way to see, not just as we watched all day as patrons came in, but as people came through all day for the live stream.
That was so cool.
And we got to see how many people are willing to come out and support us, whether it's by hanging out with us or supporting us monetarily with the Patreon. A lot of that really touched my heart, to see people come around us and support us for a day. So that was really special for me. But least favorite, they also asked for a least favorite. I've enjoyed this so much.
Yeah, I don't think I have a least favorite.
Maybe a least favorite that comes to mind is the moment of panic when our Zoom meeting with Joel McHale was ending, and I was watching the timer countdown, and I had to interrupt him to say that I needed to pay for Zoom Pros so we could keep talking to him, and then he was like, I gotta go anyway.
Okay, bye.
But not really. I don't know.
But here's what we can hold our hats on, is that Joel McHale went above his scheduled time with us.
He said, I didn't even notice I was going over because we were fun.
He said, we're best friends now. Time flies when you're having fun. I'll see you guys at dinner at my place this weekend.
XOXO. Joey. He lets his friends call him
Joey. Joey Mac.
Well, give me something. If you had to come up with the least favorite, obviously sometimes editing is a drag. When something goes wrong in editing, maybe that's up there with least favorite. If you had to pick something that's been a drag about the show, I want to hear it. And take your time, because with the magic of editing, I can whittle this down to a quick 2 seconds.
You know what? I think the look of disappointment on my mom's face when we were playing some sort of game And
it was during the live stream.
It was during the
you
live
said
stream.
something about stealing lighters.
And the look of like...
When there's a real live on the internet moment of mother and son, mother being like, you did what now? And then Steven just reverting into an 8-year-old boy. It was like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Man.
That was pretty haunting.
If I knew exactly when it happened, I would edit it into this, but it'd be hard to go through that entire live stream.
It was towards the end. It was in one of the last games we played.
It was towards the end. That'd be kind of funny if I wouldn't found it. I don't know if I will.
You know what? I'm going to give another highlight was in the live stream.
A least favorite moment?
No, a favorite moment.
Okay.
Doing that game where we had to sell something was so much fun. Like do the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, with Alex Webster.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. That's where you joshing around about my piggies came up.
Yeah, those little piggies.
Maybe I'll do that. I always wanted to post that as a highlight. What I am about to show you guys is a little clip for today's special bonus episode. You're going to see us playing a Jackbox game where me, Steven, Alex Webster, who guested on the Contemporary American Poultry podcast, and Lil, during that all-day live stream we did for the Patreon, playing maybe I'll just show yours. Playing a Jackbox game where we have to improvise a PowerPoint presentation based on stuff that other people suggest and someone else like helps run what you see on the PowerPoint. And Steven's was really, really funny, so maybe I'll share that.
That was top notch stuff.
Tune in for the video. I'll add a video for that.
Oh,
bit.
heck
so
yeah!
Go find us on
at youtube.com/You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, probably.
All right, Steven.
Okay.
Here we go. We ready?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Hello, my name is Steve, and my talk is why Zach is no longer my best friend, despite what our lockets would have you believe. You know, it all started when I was giving Zach a little foot rub, and out of nowhere, he just started kicking the dog shit out of me. And I was like, Zach, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. And he was like, sorry, I'm ticklish. And I was like, but Zach, you asked for this. And then he just kept like putting his toes like in and around like my mouth area. And he like, nah, I want it up your nose. I want it up your nose. You're going to smell these little piggies. And I was like, cut it out. I don't want to smell them, you know? And I know it might seem ridiculous, but this is why I am so serious about this problem, okay? Not only did that's what my nose looked like when he was done with it. He kicked it and stomped it so much that it elongated and grew into this bulbous mass. It took me weeks, I tell you, to get back to normal. I mean, Zach may not see it, but he's got some powerful toes. His pinky toe alone could kill a man. You know, now, the only way to fix this problem is for us to call upon humanity's single greatest resource. The ass of a scared cat. Now, with this ass of a scared cat, I believe that we could spray, right? And from that ass, we birthed a new cat, a kitten, if you will. That kitten is our relationship, Zach. We can build it together, but only if I spray you from behind to make up for you kicking the dog shit out of me. Thank you. Thank you all.
Steven, I just got to let you know that my desk chair is absolutely soaked right now. You're going to smell these little piggies, all right?
Alex, that was great. Thank you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
You broke
Oh, my God. Oh.
Lil's next question that they ask is, any plans for after Community?
We were just kind of talking about this earlier. There's a couple of ideas that we have. I think there's a few front runners.
We're obviously not there yet, and
Yeah.
I'm still very much enjoying what we're doing. And I also don't want to overwhelm us. I want us to always want to do what we're doing if we're doing it. So, no, we're not going to say anything yet, but it certainly makes sense to jump into another show after we finish Community, doesn't it?
Yeah, I honestly think we today discovered there's a hidden gem out there that most of you haven't seen, and we want to bring some awearness to it. But we'll get in on that later.
We're going to get into that a little bit later in the program. Lil's next question, when is Lil getting their own show? Well, Lil, as you know, you co-host Nostalgia with me over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, and that's as far as it's going to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think maybe, if they play their cards right, Danny and Lil can have like an after show, kind of like that Walking Dead thing where they talk and dissect the episode right after you watch it every week.
Are we disappointed and you can't disappoint a podcast? Well, unfortunately, though, Lil, some people, when it comes to the pod industry, now that we're the big parts of it,
we're in the works.
There are some people that got it and some people that just don't got it. And unfortunately, love, you just don't got it. You don't have this charm. You couldn't do this. This is hard work.
It is. It's, other potties, as we call ourselves, not to have a potty mouth with D's. Yeah.
Lil, I will absolutely support you to start your own show, but I ain't editing that shit, so on you. That's as far as it goes. 2 more questions from Lil. How did the paternity test go? He's our dad. And the reason we didn't make a big announcement of it was after it happened and we found out that he's our dad, he was so shocked and dumbfounded by it that he was like, we will never speak of this again. But we do have paper medical evidence that proves that Communities gave birth to each of us, me 15 minutes earlier than Steven.
It's true. It was a medical marvel, but, miracles happen every day. And
Last question from Lil. How many Meow Meow Beans does You Can't Disappoint a Podcast get? I really think that's up to you guys, the listener. I think you should let us know how many you think we've got. But I think 4 out of 5 is a very if I'm gonna try to not be full of myself, I'll give us 4.
I'll give us 4 Meow Meow Beans. I think that's like a fair rating. 4.5.
Lil wraps up the email saying, okay, love y'all. Super excited to see where this next year takes you both. Signed, Official Peeps Review. Thanks for the thoughtful email. We live together. I'm not going to talk to you like you're a person.
Thanks, Lil. I don't live with you. Appreciate it.
You could. Come on in.
Yeah.
You got room.
Come on in.
You got a big old queen bed.
Cooking.
Our second email comes from a friend of ours named Benjamin Watson.
Ben Watson?
Yeah, and you might remember earlier in season 2, I think, we played his song that I really like called The Golden State. Mm-hmm. You can find his music under Benjamin Watson. He has an EP that's really good that you can find wherever you find your music, so go check that out. And remember that I did say there was a good email and a bad email, because Ben writes in to say...
Ben has never seen the show Community.
This is absolute nonsense. He says, hey, why are purple potatoes Canadian? Like, who TF you think you are? Rasm, frasm, farts and stuff. Ben. He texted me after writing this email. Let me pull up that on my phone. He said, I have emailed the podcast. I expect this important topic to be addressed. And I said that he's an idiot.
Well, let's talk about it. He wrote into the show. Thank you, Benjamin. I always said if Ben had a theme song, like every time he walked in a room, all I heard was like the track overhead playing, I'm Ben Watson. So that's great. He also had a number that I wrote for him called Jeans and a Beater and a Backwards Cap, because that is how I see Ben always, even though he's like a real estate person.
Now he's a real estate agent that
a realtor.
And his music he's very influenced by artists like Bon Iver, but we always see him as the long country phase he went through in middle school and high school.
He was a bit of a country
school.
Justin Bieber, and we loved him for it.
Yeah, so that's the emails we got. Thoughtful stuff. I'm not gonna give.
You're not gonna
him
entertain
more.
the Canadian potatoes being
I'm not
purple
gonna,
thing.
I don't even know what he's talking about. If I'm being honest, I thought
Is it a euphemism?
I thought purple potatoes were like the more like Asian, often in dessert. What's the purple potato that's in like boba
dessert?
There's like boba tea flavors of it.
Oh, I'm not into that kind of Asian stuff, so I don't know.
He's just into the
if there are no
furry
tentacles,
anime.
then get it away from me. Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. Lily would know. But yeah, those were some emails, I guess, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Lil. Thoughtful stuff. I'm glad to have done this show, and it's crazy what all we've managed to get through in a year. And now we're going to move on to the next thing that we're here to discuss about as we move into the last segment of this birthday special that we're doing. Steven and I felt like we needed to watch something and review something to go along with this week's special bonus episode. And we watched the pilot of The Cape together right before we recorded this show. The Cape, obviously, recently we did Paradigms of Human Memory, where, if you remember from the podcast, that one has the 6 seasons in a movie line. Abed does all of his tricks while he's wearing the cape and talks about how obsessed he is with the show, and Jeff's that show's going to last 3 weeks. And if you remember on the podcast, I talked about the show The Cape, and Steven didn't know that it was a real show that existed.
I did not. I had forgotten that it was a thing. I had blocked it out.
So
unfortunately for me,
I thought it'd be a lot of fun. I've never watched The Cape, so I thought let's for one segment of an episode only, we are becoming You Cape Disappoint a Podcast with Zach and Steven. And we're going to talk about the very first episode of The Cape, the pilot. It was directed by Simon West, who, listen to this, Simon West directed the films Con Air.
You're kidding me.
He directed Lara Croft Tomb Raider. He directed The Expendables 2.
I like The Expendables.
He directed the 2006 When a Stranger Calls.
Oh, no.
And this one is the most dumbfounding. He directed the music video for Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. And he directed
what the hell? And the
pilot
Cape.
of The Cape. Yeah. It was written by Tom Wheeler, who's the showrunner and creator of The Cape. He also had some writing credits for some films, Puss in Boots.
Nice.
The Lego Ninjago movie.
Better than you'd think.
And Dora and the Lost City of Gold, the live-action Dora the Explorer movie. And it originally aired January 9th, 2011. When we decided to do this, I thought, yeah, I'll write down the people who directed it and stuff, and and do the show like we usually do it. But the guy directed the Rickroll video and The Cape. That feels like a Rickroll.
Right? But I'm just shocked that he directed Never Gonna Give You Up and also Tomb Raider.
Con Air.
And Con Air is a great movie. Wow.
Yeah, and it originally aired January 9th, 2011. We're talking about The Cape, aren't we?
We sure are.
We're doing it. The people have been clamoring for it. They say we need some Cape action. I don't expect any of you guys to be able to find the pilot of The Cape, to be able to watch it without buying it. And if you find a way to watch The Cape, I kind of recommend that you watch the pilot, but I don't recommend that you spend any money watching it. Mm-hmm. So how do we do this? Let's do the show like we normally do.
Let's do it.
I've got some trivia.
I've got 2 for you.
You got 2 questions? I've got 4.
Nice.
So I'll give you 2. Did you forget to do it until halfway through the episode?
No, I just didn't have a lot of...
We didn't watch it 3 times like we normally watch Community. We watched it once together, which was a fun way to do it.
I was so enthralled, Zachary, that I couldn't be peeled away.
It was pretty easy to just stay glued in on The Cape. If it was anything, it was entertaining, right?
Yeah.
Okay, trivia. I'll give you 2. What's the name of the corporation that's taking over the police force?
Oh, that would be ARC Corporation.
An easy one. And a second one, what's the name of the doll that's been used to smuggle in the dangerous L9?
Wasn't it like little Patty Peas?
That's close.
What was it?
That's really close. I believe it was Pammy Peas.
Pammy Peas,
Okay. Go ahead and give me one.
How much does Vince weigh?
Oh, 187.
On the nose.
I never miss. No one's going to know what any of this shit means. Okay, my next question. How many bones has Max Malini, played by the great Keith David, broken in search of the perfect illusion?
92.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. How many disappearing illusions involve a cape?
Is it 37?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Nice. And last but not least, my last question for you is, what's the name of the ship the climactic battle takes place on?
I have no idea. I saw you writing something down then, and I was like, he's going to ask me the name of that ship, isn't he?
Yeah.
Nope.
They said it out loud. They showed it earlier in the episode.
The Queen Mary.
The bad guy Chess says, meet me at the Lady Luck.
Ah, the Lady Luck.
Lady Luck. Let's move right into our next segment. For the second time this week, we're going to do our favorite thing. You're about to have 20 seconds and now think that we're podcasting to people that may never get to watch.
This was also a 45-minute episode.
Yeah.
So
These people might never get to watch the pilot episode of The Cape. So it's not only up to you to recap it to see if you were paying attention, but to tell the story of what we're about to be podcasting about. We're going to find out now more than ever, did Steven watch the episode of The Cape that we decided to review this week for this special one-year birthday bonus episode celebrating the year of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
You Can't Disappoint a Podcast this week.
Okay, you've got 20 seconds on the dial. Are you ready?
I am so ready, Zach.
Okay, I'm going to count you in 3, 2, 1, go.
So Vince is a clean cop, but he sucks his son's toes. Then his chief dies, and so he starts working for a private security agency. But surprise, Bruce Wayne's a bad guy in this one, so he gets framed. And then he ends up in a circus, and Keith David teaches him how to use a cape like a superhero. Then he goes up to his son's window after fighting some bad guys, and there's a scaly guy, too. And then the black friend was bad all along.
Okay, you got a lot of it.
I really did.
I think, guys, I don't think you need to watch the pilot of The Cape now.
That's everything you need to know.
That was an A+ showing this
Thank
week.
you. A+, well deserved. I don't think there's a thing that I missed.
Do you have a favorite funny moment from the episode?
I think
it was hilarious. It was so funny.
The sensual hair sniffing when he and his son were punching the punching bag was pretty great. I also think that just in general, him practicing with the clearly CGI cape and waving his arms around was top tier.
Yeah, for me, the funniest moment was all in the very beginning. The very beginning of the episode, it's set up to be, so the town's getting a new police chief, and you kind of think, never having watched this and knowing how superhero things go, maybe the police chief's going to be like the like Gordon of the show or whatever. Is that the guy from Batman?
From Batman.
You know what I mean? You kind of think maybe he's going to be a big character. Maybe he's the bad guy. Something's going on. But no, the whole beginning is like an exciting news press conference to meet the new police chief. And then he's immediately murdered in a limo by the limo driver with this weird gas in a canister. And there are all of these weird zoom in shots to make it look like the stuff in the limo is like expanding. And I don't know, it's just there's so many bad 2011 CGI moments in this episode of this show, and that was the first one, and it made me laugh really hard and was like, it really set you up for what you're about to watch. Also, the montage of Keith David's troupe of carnival people robbing banks was pretty funny.
That was outrageous. I love when the car exploded at the beginning, how Vince somehow like got onto the door of it and then slid on the ground away from it, and that's how he escaped.
Yep.
But also he was on the outside of the car, so what the was he grabbing onto?
Yep. So let's talk about the show. How does it start? It literally starts with Vince and his son in bed together, and they're laying like you lay with your bro roommate, where you lay like foot to head, so there's no we're laying in a bed together, except they're laying on top of each other, and the son's foot is in the kid's mouth. Now, Steven, we are definitely people who take things that direction all the time when they don't need to be, and obviously they were just trying to create a cute, like a warm chemistry between a father and son, because the father and son are going to be split up in the episode. But there was a lot of creepiness going on between the father and son.
It was weird because he was like really like, I don't know. I didn't love that shot choice.
They try to make Vince's character sexy. So like everything he's doing he's doing it as the sexy dad.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that.
No, you can't be sexy dad when you're laying down with your kid. That's the problem.
So that sets up what? The beginning of it sets up nothing other than this guy has a son.
There was no point for that.
Right?
Because he wasn't even reading the cape to his son at the time. They were just cuddling.
They were holding a copy of it. One of the first things you see is like the cape. They're,
I think it was,
holding
but that was like sitting to the side. Like he wasn't even like reading it to him.
And then
what
happens after that? It's the police chief thing, right?
Then he wakes up in the morning and goes to work. One of his fellow officers was on the computer reading this blog from Orwell.
This all-knowing computer presence that can take over any computer at any time. There's a lot of even though it's 2011, there's a lot of early 2000s, like, using computers weirdly, like the weird hacking, like tap, 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 I'm in kind of stuff all over this, which made it a lot of fun. Orwell reveals that several cops are dirty. And there's a really dramatic zoom in of the dirty cops that made me laugh, where you zoom in on them and they're all like scowling at the person who's looking at the computer. Like it's very clearly, if you look at this all cops are dirty, but if you look at this picture of all the people in this room and you're like, which are the two dirty cops? It's very clear that it's the two that are 7 feet tall, these big beefy bald guys, and they're scowling at you with their stares in the room. So yeah, they're evil cops, but that doesn't really have much to do with anything, does it?
No, that's just the setup, because before the limo blows up. Well, and before the limo blows up, you see the two dirty cops. Yeah, they walk in front of the limo, so you know something bad's about to happen.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But also the black girl who was his like fellow officer, she was shot in the head in the backseat of the limo when the chief got in, and he still got in and closed the door.
He was about to kill them with gas and stuff. Why did he have to shoot her? To scare the police chief when he got in the car?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the guy who was driving the limo was Chess.
Yes,
so how did he get out of the limo and then leave without anyone seeing a guy with a mask on his face?
Well, I mean, maybe they did, because after it happens, everyone's like, we gotta catch Chess. And like, he just murdered a police chief and got away in a very heavily populated area.
There was a whole press conference going on.
Chess got away? Yeah. So let's talk about the character of Chess. Chess is the bad guy in this series, or at least in this episode, and it's clearly revealed very early on that, okay, so the police chief dies, and there's this company that's going to take over the police in this town and turn it into the first like commercially owned and run police precinct, and it's run by this guy who's this billionaire or whatever, and he ends up being the bad guy, Chess, who wears a mask, and his eyes are distorted, and I shit you not, his eyes, the pupils are shaped like chess pieces. One of them's a little horsey. You said the other one's what? I never quite got a good look.
The little castle.
Rook. So that's something. But he also all the time takes off his mask and is this billionaire, and his eyes aren't like that. So does Chess is he like, I've got to do this evil stuff, let me put my chess piece contacts in?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think that the chess pieces are the contacts, or that he was born with that and then he puts on normal ones in his day-to-day life?
It seems like the creators of this show were like, you know what's deep? In superhero conflicts, it's kind of like a game of chess between the superhero and the villain, and each one makes their move and tries to overtake the other one. So what if we made a villain named... Are you sitting down? NBC executives? That was him doing coke. The guy's name is Chess, and his eyes are chess, and his co-henchman... Scales.
There's silly. A lizard guy, but he's not a lizard guy. He just has like a skin condition that got progressively worse throughout the episode. Because when they first show him, he had like a couple of like speckles on his face, like when he was on the Orwell website. But then by the time you meet the guy, he looks like an iguana.
And he's been smuggling in this canister of something that makes shit blow up called L9, or makes... It's like a poisonous gas or something.
But it explodes.
And it explodes, and he's been smuggling it in, and that's their evil plot, I guess.
Yeah, well, because they hide it in the Pammy P's potty training dolls.
Yeah, which was ridiculous. Do you think the show is supposed to often make us laugh, or is it supposed to be... I think all of it is supposed to be dead serious?
I think it is all dead-ass serious, Zach.
Okay, so... Vince is a good cop. He says good cop probably like 30 times in the episode.
He does.
He's got a wife and a kid named
You'd think
Trip.
he was a goddamn golden retriever, the amount of times people were like, you're one of the good
boy.
ones, Vince. You're a good cop. Yeah.
And so he wants to... What happens first? Does he find out that... How does he take it upon himself to solve the problem?
Well,
what happens
so
first?
he starts working for ARC after his chief dies, and
Right.
then immediately, after getting an email from Orwell that he opened and then spoke to him directly, somehow, because it popped up on his computer looking like it was like AOL 2005 and said,
and it
"You
just
have
told
one
him all
email."
of the exposition.
Yeah, it told him all about ARC being bad in the form of a little video.
Yeah.
And so then he somehow finds the shipping train with the dolls.
Yeah, and there's this big standoff.
Yeah, well, 'cause
as he gets
his-
caught.
Well, before then, his black friend.
Yes,
who was
turns out to be a
also
bad
a
guy.
cop, yeah.
And takes him to Chess.
Yes, and then Chess is
Frames it on him. And makes the news outlet, which leads to his wife and son thinking that Vince is this bad guy, Chess,
Yeah.
and that he's being sought after by police or something.
Yeah.
And there's this big action scene, which honestly was probably one of the better action scenes in the episode.
It
where
was, but I'm also confused now because it was like the dead ass like middle of the night when he first, but then Chess is like, your only escape after he puts his mask on him is to run, and then he runs from the cops.
Yeah.
And there's trains, but that was the
they
high budget
as a
scene.
torture, they take the chess mask and like put it on him as tight as possible. But yeah, that scene wasn't the worst thing ever. And then everyone thinks he's Chess, and then there's a big explosion, and everyone thinks that he's died. So that's where we go. The family thinks that he has died and we're not going to be able to get through all of this. There's so much. The family thinks that he's died and that he was this super villain and that he killed the police chief, but he hasn't died. He made it underground before the explosion happened.
He like opened up a sewer vent drain and dropped down into it.
And he's taken in by a group of carnies
who were in the sewer for some reason.
But and he's taken in by this group of carnies led by the incomparable Keith David,
who did a really nice job in the episode.
Yeah, he's one of the highlights of the episode. And they think he's the bad guy, so they interrogate him, but then they find out he's a cop, so they want to kill him because they rob banks. And how do they end up working together?
Because he's like, wait, I was a cop that had access to all these codes, and I have a key card that opens every door in the city.
This good cop helps him rob a couple banks, stirs up some trouble. I don't know. We're running out of time. Basically, Keith David trains Vince how to use this magic trick cape. And when Vince puts on the cape to use it, it's an awful CGI cape.
It's so bad.
And it's like how one thing, we haven't likened it to Community. I can absolutely see why Abed Nadir would love this show.
Oh,
and
yeah.
put it on for a minute and be like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I love it. The CGI cape can do anything. It can make him disappear. It can be used as a weapon. It can be used as like a grappling hook. And it's horribly CGI'd to where it really looks like it's animated on top of the actor whenever it's on. And I feel like for a lot of these shots, they didn't need to do that.
No, he could have just had on a cape.
Yes.
The thing that got me is like the cape doesn't really have all that many, like it's stretchy and it can grab things, but he also just learned a bunch of magic tricks about how to make himself disappear and like get out of chains. Like that is his
we're gonna
entire
have
training.
to watch the rest of the series and find out how he, I'm curious to see how is he gonna do as a superhero. He doesn't really have any powers.
No, and he doesn't have nearly he got beat up by a little person half the episode.
Yeah.
And then finally beat
not
him.
that means anything.
Well,
come on.
Here's the thing. I guess that little person did later on take down Scales.
He's a hard ass,
with a monkey wrench. But he can't beat like an average tough guy, Zach. Who's he gonna fight?
That's true. That's true.
What if it rains? Does his cape shrink?
He learns to be the cape, and he does end up by the skin of his teeth, kind of winning in a confrontation with Chess on a boat at the end of the episode. Where does it leave off with Chess?
Chess jumps into the water.
So he's not dead. He's coming back in episode 2, right?
Yes.
Chess is obviously the bad guy who's going to be the big baddie for the series, and he gets this almost like Michael Myers ending where it's like he's dead, but not really. He'll be back in the next one. And then there's this thing in the last bit of the episode.
Well, before we get into that really sensual moment that you're about to talk about.
Well, no, I wanted to touch on how, because it happens first with Chess, that when the cape is when Vince is wearing the cape in the hood, all it really covers is his eyes, and often just like half of one eye, and nobody can recognize who he is. Chess was this billionaire or whatever who took over the police precinct. They met and talked several times, and in their confrontation, he's like, "I'll find out who you are, and I'll kill you."
He even has seen him with his eyes covered because he put the chess mask over his face, so he's seen just his mouth alone. And you'd think that you'd be like, "Oh, I've seen those lips."
Yes,
because I punched the hell out of him for 30 minutes.
What did you want to touch on before we get to the sensual moment?
His funeral. It was really touching.
Yes!
It was mountainside or
They have a
cliffside.
funeral because they believe that he died, but it doesn't make sense because they all think he's a supervillain.
Yeah.
But like it's this really touching, well-attended funeral.
Yeah, there are like a lot of people there. But then his wife like throws the wreath into the ocean. Was she mad
and
or
she throws
sad?
it off a wreath. I probably both. That's a really tough situation.
But then he pops around from the side of the tree like it's in Sesame Street or something, and he's like peekaboo. But nobody sees him, even though he's like 20
He shows
feet.
up to his own funeral. It's like a Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn
Yeah.
moment, and he's literally just next to them behind the nearest tree, and nobody notices that he's there. If your dead husband is just like looking around, it was really nuts. And we also didn't even touch on that we meet Orwell, who's this all-knowing online presence that helps. That doesn't do anything, but helps people find the bad guys.
Played
and
by
we
the
find out
lovely
later
Summer
in the
Glau.
episode that it's a woman, and there's this big like, "Oh, you're a woman" moment, played by Summer Glau, and it's set up that she's gonna be kind of like a sidekick to the Cape, and that she might even be a love interest for the married man, the Cape, Mr. the Cape. I hope Mrs. the Cape is okay.
Well, and we know he wants to go by the Cape now because Keith David like was talking to him and he said, "It's the Cape."
Yeah.
Or no, he said that to Orwell because she
Yeah.
called him Vince because she obviously knows who he is.
Because she like picked him to do all this stuff,
Yeah.
kind of. And there's a scene where Keith David almost dies, but then doesn't. And it's a really funny moment where he gives this speech like his deathbed. You know, the classic action movie, someone's trying to get out their last couple sentences on the ground before they die. And then it looks like he's going to die. And then Keith David's like, "Oh, I guess this was a false alarm. And I said all that stuff for no reason." And he got up and walked away.
Yeah, that was really funny.
And then, let's talk about the end of the episode. So the Cape can't help but go to his own funeral and hide badly. When he is the Cape, he's barely hidden as far as his face is concerned, but it works flawlessly as covering him up. So in the end of the episode, he appears, and we also didn't say that the Cape is in this world like a real comic book character.
That his
and
son
Vince
likes.
reads his son Cape comics all the time. So Vince shows up outside of his son's window as the Cape and explains to him that he knew his dad and his dad's a bad guy and he got framed and he's going to take down the people who did it and he's going to bring his son back to him. And it's a really like sensual, like Spider-Man Mary Jane kind of moment.
I was really waiting for a kiss.
Them to kiss in the
Yeah.
rain upside down. And
He's-
the man, you literally can see all of his face except for part of one eye. And his son is like, "It's the Cape."
He's like, I hear you read my comic. And then what made it even better was, I'm gonna give them a really special shout out, and not spoil anything, but the special effects crew really had their
Outdid
work cut out for
themselves.
them. And the CGI single tear that runs down
Yep.
his face as he's talking to
Was he
his
just
son.
that shitty of an actor?
I
Could he
think
not?
so.
They're like, in this scene, you cry. It's a big moment. And he's like,
said, "I
"Nah, you
can't."
just gotta CGI that shit like
He's
the
like,
Cape, bro."
sadness is not what I'm feeling next to my co-star here, so you really gotta
Oh, God.
give me something.
Oh, goddamn. And that's pretty much the end of the episode, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the end. It literally had his crying face, and then he
it was over.
he said whoosh, and he disappeared in a cloud of
Yeah.
smoke because that's what he does. And then also the cape is not necessary for the disappearing. You throw down a smoke ball and then you're gone. Keith David
Yeah.
did it with and without the cape.
The Cape kind of helps, but
It
not
adds
really.
some flourish.
Yeah, that's it. That's super-ish. So let's wrap this up with a couple of topics of conversation. Issue number 1 on the docket. Was the pilot of The Cape a good episode of television? Yes or no?
No.
I also say no, but I think you're giving it a little bit not enough credit when you say that it wasn't at all trying to be funny. Because moments like where Keith David almost dies,
I thought
and
that
then
was
is
one
like,
of the
never
few
mind.
actually supposed to be
I think
funny
there's
things.
some moments that are. I think it reminds me a lot of the era of superhero films before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies were the most popular, and they were meant to be taken seriously, but they were also kind of silly. And I think that's
the third one was supposed to be taken seriously, Zach.
Right, but you can't deny, because I could give you specific examples, that there are jokes all over the movie, and some of the things that you laugh at aren't jokes, but there were jokes in the movie that are funny.
That's fair.
Like the thing that comes to mind is J. Jonah Jameson. All of his scenes are really funny.
Yeah.
There's one where like his assistant keeps like buzzing a thing and annoying him, and
Yeah.
there's stuff in it that's really funny.
Well, and we left out, not only did he get training on the Cape with the Carnies, but he did learn how to hypnotize someone, and then they wore
There's a
girls'
whole thing
underwear.
about wearing girls' underwear while hypnotized that was weird and unnecessary. I say no. The Cape pilot was not a good episode of television, but it was really fun. It
was
flew by
entertaining.
really fast. It was entertaining. I don't know if I will, but I would watch the second episode of The Cape just to watch
If
what
this was
they
on Hulu, I would
do.
watch at least the second episode.
Yeah. And I think that's saying something for a show that got canceled after 10 episodes. And I don't know. It was a mess, but I'm glad that we picked it and decided to watch it for this. It was
I
pretty
am
fun
too.
to watch with you. So do you have an MVP?
I do. I have the special effects team. I think they had some great explosions. They were working the whole episode because it's called the Cape, and it's not even a real life cape. So they have to literally create.
So honorable mention to the special effects team.
Yeah, that was my MVP.
Okay. That's
Now-
your MVP is the special
Yeah.
effects team. Okay.
Now I think, in all seriousness, Keith David was the best in the show, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my MVP is the breastplate that the Cape wears.
Nice.
And how much it makes him look like Bible Man.
Yeah, he's wearing like some sort of. It looks like Roman times, like
Yes.
breastplate with all this embroidering on it for some reason.
Yeah. Well, that's the Cape. If you get a chance to watch the pilot of the Cape, watch it. Let us know what you thought about it and how ridiculous it was.
Yeah, and if you guys really like this, we'll start a whole podcast about the Cape.
I'm not kidding. If this was fun for people and we get like a couple comments about it, I will do a 10 episode Patreon You Cape
I'm
Disappointed
so
podcast.
down for that.
If you want to do that, tell us and we will absolutely do it. Let's wrap this up by talking again. It's been a year of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, and this show has done so many things for my, like, genuinely to have this to do every week, I think has been good for my mental health to have something like this to come back to, a reason just to hang out with my friend for 2 hours every week. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. I'm so thankful for all the people who support us. And now looking at the year ahead, what do you think's coming? What's on the top of your bucket list after the things that we've already done?
I would really like to interview another one of the study group. I think that'd be really, really fun to do.
Who's your white whale? Who would you? Obviously,
Other
we're
than-
never going to
other
talk to
than
Donald Glover
Donald Glover.
about Community.
I
Who-
really would love to talk to either. That's so hard. I think for podcast's sake, I'd love to talk to Yvette.
Okay.
But I think for my personal reasons, Jillian.
I think the top of my bucket list of people that I would love to interview for this show, it's Jim Rash, and it's John Oliver.
Those would be great.
And also probably Jillian. I don't know if I think it's Gillian.
I never know.
I think it's
now
Gillian.
Community people say different stuff. I always say Gillian.
You didn't
But it
just
could be
now.
Jillian.
You said
Well,
Jillian.
because Community said Jillian.
I would love to talk to some more people, and I don't know. I'm just excited to keep going through the show. Season 3 is where things get messy and a lot of fun. And
I'm
then we
really
get
excited.
into when the show really goes through a lot of changes, and I think tracking all of that throughout the
Changes?
show. Yeah. I think tracking as cast members leave, as creatives leave and come back, I think it'll be fun to watch the show through that lens too.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. How do we wrap up this thing?
have a toast to freedom.
Thank you to everyone who listens to our show, who's helped us make it a thing that's worth doing as long as we have. Thank you for listening. Thank you for when you write in. Thank you for engaging with us on social media. Thanks to all of our patrons. And if you'd like to become one, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Another thing that we didn't mention, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast early every week. We record the show on Thursday, and it goes up on the Patreon on Thursday before it comes out on Monday.
Bang, bang, bang.
It's been fun to do this. This has been a really fun offshoot.
Yeah,
I've had fun doing this. It's been fun. We'll be back next week with the season 2 finale, and I don't know if I think it's for a few paintballs more.
I think it's
a fistful of paintballs, and then for a few paintballs more.
If they followed like the movies.
Right, that's absolutely what it is. So next week we'll be back with the season 2 finale for a few paintballs more. Oh shit! We have to give a secret word for our giveaway, for some giveaway action. What's a good cape-themed secret word?
Illusion.
No, that's not it, guys. Scratch it.
Well,
We can
I
do
wanted
better
it to
than
be
that.
cape, but I was gonna say the word was.
That'd be
cape
too easy. We're gonna do
a different one.
Okay, your secret word for this week, it's not illusion. If you say illusion, I'm taking an entry away from you. The secret word for this, it's 2 words. The secret word for this bonus episode is CGI teardrop.
There we go.
Write that into us on
won't
any
guess
of the
that
socials, on can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and that gets you 2 entries to the giveaway we're doing. Next week, we'll be back with the season 2 finale of Community, and you'll get another secret word, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then coming up soon is our special guest roundtable, where we talk about season 2 as a whole. It's exciting times. I'm excited to dig into season 3.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast and a half.
Signing off for the week, Steven, I'm truly so glad that we do this together. This has literally just been us sitting around and talking and goofing around, and it's been a lot of fun. I don't have a lot of people that I just sit around and goof around with anymore now that it's the busyness of working and being in obviously I do with my relationship, but I don't have a lot of time just to chill. And even though this is something that we do, it's time to chill with a friend, and it means a lot. I love doing it. It's been
I feel
fun.
the same way, buddy.
And I literally wouldn't rather do it with anyone else. I love doing it with you.
I have a couple other options, but yeah,
I get it.
You do it okay.
I get it. You have a couple other options.
Yeah.
Just lined up in case?
Well, Joel and I are getting along pretty well. We talk.
I will gladly step aside if it means you get to do the show with Joel. Anyway,
things public.
Let's sign off. Signing off not just for this week, but for this first year of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
Black Lives Matter. Get vaccinated. Thanks for the support. We love you. I didn't say it. From inside the Dreamatorium. Or what's a cape one?
From inside the caped hood of our heroicism.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Have a great week. We love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.